Good to go.
All right, excellent. Well, good evening, everyone. It is 6:04. I called to order the City of Glenwood Springs Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. This is our extension tonight of the regular meeting from, I think it was almost 2 weeks ago. It is November 9th, 2020. And Steve, would you please do a roll call?
Yep, good evening, everybody. Commissioner West.
Here. Yes.
Commissioner Dame.
Yes.
Commissioner Grosscup.
Here, thank you.
Commissioner Shaver. Commissioner Sipperly.
Here.
Commissioner Schachter.
Here.
You have a quorum, Chair.
Thank you very much, Steve. Also, tonight's meeting can be watched on YouTube, or you can join in via Zoom. Our webinar ID for tonight is 872-0646-1423, or you can call in and listen to it at 1-669-900-6833. And with that, we're going into comments from citizens that are appearing in front of us for items that are not on the agenda, on tonight's agenda, I should say. And if you're here to voice your comments, raise your hand, please. And I'll see none, so we move on into our first of two continued items from last meeting. We continued the item so we can receive additional public comment on both of these planning items. And we are here tonight to add those comments and make final decisions on these items. We're going into item A on the agenda, which is 2720, consideration of a major site architectural plan review for the expansion of the Iron Mountain Hot Springs. And I think we left it off, like I said, at public comment. So if staff, I think what we want to do is if staff has any additional public comment to read it into the record, I think this would be the time.
Correct. This is Gretchen Ricehill, and we did not actually receive any additional public comment. And just before we, Marco, if you bear with me a minute, before we get completely started, if you all have questions of the applicant, I'd like to promote them at this time, if that's okay.
That sounds good.
Okay, I see that Doug Pratt's been promoted, Steve Beckley, got Doug Flenty, who appears as just Doug, Steve on the list of attendees.
Okay.
And Doug Pratt, can you tell me if Julie is on? I don't see her.
Julie is actually here in the room.
Oh, she is with you. Okay, very good.
Yeah.
You get 2 for 1.
Let's see if we can see her over there.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. So as I said, we have not received any additional public comments. I did want to note that I did make some revisions or updates to my previous staff report, and that was all transmitted to you folks in red font, so it's easily discernible. Basically, I just want to point out really quickly that the River Commission, per your request last time, reviewed the riparian restoration plan at its November 4th meeting, and they gave some three general points of direction, and that is encouraging increase in tree plantings along that 3-foot riparian setback, encourage increasing water quality improvements, and encourage limiting site disturbance as much as practical. I guess I'd just point out that according to the riparian plan, there were about 13 trees planted, but the applicant had noted that they are willing to work with the River Commission. And so I included a condition of approval, 3E, which requires, well, it actually encourages revision and inclusion of a key, because in my copy of the plan, I couldn't tell if there was it wasn't easily seen, a planting key, which identifies each of the plant species. And then, so if Iron Mountain Hot Springs, because they agreed to explore additional riparian trees in that 35-foot setback per the River Commission's request, I've put that any additional tree inclusions at the review of the director's review and approval. So keeping it at a staff level. And then regarding the water quality and drainage, Iron Mountain Hot Springs did clarify that the overall site, as currently and previously, were analyzed by SGM and more recently by Boundaries Unlimited. And that was all the water quality information was included in their major drainage report. And Iron Mountain Hot Springs will follow the recommendations of these studies. And then finally, with regard to limiting site disturbance, just a reminder that the mineral pool expansion is allowed to occur within the 35-foot riparian setback per the recent amendments that were adopted by the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council. And then there were certain provisions in that adopting ordinance where Hot Springs Pool is allowed to develop if the property owner demonstrates that the area did not contain significant riparian plant species prior to September 2020. The area was not impacted by previous earth disturbing activities prior to September 2020. And then any improvements do not result in a material increase in water quality degradation. Now, I just want to point out that I have photographs and aerials from the original development in 2014, as well as old historic photographs that definitely show that the site was previously disturbed. So I just want to offer that comment. And with that, I will be quiet and answer any further questions that you have.
Thank you, Gretchen. Let's start with questions from the commission to Gretchen on this update. Please raise your hand. Okay, I see none. Great. Would the applicant care to comment on these updates and changes?
Yes, this is Doug Pratt. Go ahead, Steve. Wasn't sure if Steve was on. Yeah, this is Doug Pratt. So Julie and I had worked, actually Trent Hyatt presented kind of landscape plans to the River Commission because that's kind of his role. And he had called us with some response from the River Commission. Ultimately, he went to Gretchen and she coordinated that with us, and we coordinated our willingness to put together some additional tree planting materials for that riparian area above the high water mark, between the high water mark and the 35-foot setback. So that's great. Thanks for that recommendation. We'll work with staff to get that in place and provide a legend of tree planting materials. The legend was actually on the original landscape plan, but we will transpose that into this landscape plan as well. So yeah, that was kind of our coordinated effort for your suggestion to reach out to the River Commission. So thanks for that.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Steve, do you have anything? I'm sorry.
No, I'm good, thanks.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Any questions to the applicant from the commission at this point? No, we'll see none. Thank you, guys. We'll bring it back to the commission, and I'm entertaining a motion in item 27-20, consideration of a major site architectural plan review for the expansion of the Iron Mountain Hot Springs. I think staff at this point is recommending approval with the findings and condition on page 11. And more findings on page 12.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I would move In planning item 2720, action number 1, I move to approve a major site plan review and architectural plan review for the Iron Mountain Hot Springs.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion.
All right, with the findings and conditions on page 11, I believe, for this action item.
Yeah, you're right. I was actually including action 2, so it's only action 1 on page 11. That's correct. Thank you.
I'll second it. Thank you.
Motion in a second. Any discussion? Please raise your hand if there is. Let's see none. I'll call for the question.
Okay, Commissioner Schachter,
Yes.
Commissioner Sipperly,
Yes.
Commissioner Grosskopf,
Yes.
Commissioner Dame,
Yes.
and Commissioner West.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Excellent. Thank you, Steve. Moving on to action item number 2 in planning item 27-20. This is an alternative equivalence compliance request with the recommended approval. Staff recommends approval with findings on page 12.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, regarding planning item 2720, action item 2, I move to approve the alternative equivalent, what is it called?
Compliance.
Compliance request, yes, for Iron Mountain Hot Springs, thank you, with the findings on page 12.
Excellent. Thank you. We have a motion to approve
I'd second.
and a second. Any discussion on the alternative equivalence compliance request? It's just fun to say because we never have those. So if I see no discussion, I will call for the question.
Commissioner Sipperly,
Yes.
Commissioner Grosskopf,
Yes.
Commissioner Dame,
Yes.
Commissioner West,
Yes.
Commissioner Schachter.
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you, Steve. Excellent. Thank you, Commission. Thanks to the applicant. Looking
Thank you.
forward to the expansion. Good luck to you,
Great. Thanks so much.
and we'll see you around.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's see. I got to shift my screen over to the next item for tonight. And it is item B on our agenda. It is planning item 5120, consideration of a special use permit for a retail marijuana establishment in the M2 mixed use central core zoning district in the Glenwood Meadows. And again, I think we'll start with staff and additional comments if we received any.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman, Planning and Zoning Commissioners, Trent Hyatt with Community Development. We did receive just one additional comment that I will read aloud to you, but I would also ask, Mr. Chairman, that you please promote some of the applicants, and I will name those.
Absolutely.
That's going to be Chris Hawkins, John Diet, David Bellode, Paul Glenn, Jessica Scardina, Robert McGregor, and Mike Maple. I'm sure Chris can let me know if I missed anyone. But as mentioned, we did receive one additional comment, and this was from Amy Rogie, which states, to whom it may concern, I understand that the commission is continuing the discussion on Kind Castle requesting to have a pot shop on the southeast corner of Ocean Road and Flat Tops Drive in the Meadows. My hope is that this special use request is denied due to its location. The Glenwood Springs Community Recreation Center is very close to this location. My children and I recreate frequently at the recreation center in the outdoor spaces, tennis courts, and hockey rink. We are all in leagues and use the space for training and practice as well. We also use the trail system nearby. The odors from the various shops currently in town are atrocious. My fear is that this one too will be too close to and not compliant with noxious odor regulations and not a good neighbor for the adjacent lodging, recreating facilities, which will cause folks to have to recreate elsewhere. This will impact various sports leagues and potentially limit the nearby lodging facilities' ability to compete fairly with other hotels that aren't so close. I understand that someone wants us to be a shopping hub for other towns, but be mindful of the current residents and visitors. There are numerous shops throughout town. Having these odors so close to parks and sporting facilities is detrimental to those who wish to live, recreate, and breathe in a healthy environment. Thank you for serving our community and for taking my thoughts into consideration.
Okay, thank you, Trent. One additional comment we just heard. Would the applicant care to respond to this comment, as it is customary to
Yes.
do so? Please state your name for the record.
Hi, my name is Chris Hawkins with Alpine Planning LLC. Thank you. Very glad to be back in front of you this evening. In terms of the additional comment, we would just note that marijuana, in regards to the marijuana use next to the rec center, there really are no distance restrictions in the city code regarding setbacks between marijuana stores and rec centers. The store meets all the required setbacks and distance and other spatial requirements that are in the code. Other types of facilities do have a setback due to use to rec centers. If the city saw rec centers as a sensitive use that should be protected via setbacks, we would presume that those would be included into the regulations, and they're not. In regards to odor, in the comment, odor is not an issue. City staff has made that very clear, and we will have very robust odor mitigation, as noted in the record. To also just note that we specifically have created a very expensive and extensive landscape buffer that includes a 6-foot-high security fence. And I don't even think you're going to be able to see this facility from the rec center due to the fence and the landscaping. That was mostly put in for the community garden, and the rec center is quite a bit down the road overall. We also have support of 21 local residents and business owners and managers, including the property owner that owns the lodging right across the street that she was so concerned about. So we really feel it's a non-issue here and look forward to getting an approval and moving on with this store. So thank you. I'm not sure if Jessica Scardina or John Diet have any comments. If so, I'm guessing they'll raise their hand, Mr. Chairman.
That sounds good. Thank you. Any additional comments from the applicants at this point? In response to that public comments or all the public comments? No, we'll see none. Thank you. Thanks to the applicant. Any additional questions on the commission side to staff or the applicant? And we'll start with Commissioner Schachter, please.
Yeah, just for the record, Trent, rather than our own anecdotal experience, can you give a rough number of if there have been any formal complaints about odor from our retail marijuana establishments?
Sumner, in the history of this use in our municipality, we've only had one complaint from a retail operation, and it was actually found that that complaint was not associated with the retail operation, but actually with someone that was smoking in public.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And Commissioner Zipperly, please.
My question is regarding the fence that was just mentioned. I was looking on the landscape plan for a little description of what that might look like and see if a 6-foot fence on the entry side does meet code. Could I get a little clarification on the fence materials, construction, and height?
Sure. I'll briefly share my screen if that's okay, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, please.
Okay. Thank you. So this is the landscape plan. Can you see my screen? Okay, so here's a new 6-foot-high fence that's located along the property here. It will be a wood fence, opaque material, very compatible. And it's set back from the property line 5 feet so we can have landscape planting on the other side as well.
So the fence is just along the east side of the property, along the property line.
Yes, ma'am.
Great, thank you.
Carolyn, if I could, that is one question that I had for the applicant still. I actually don't know if a 6-foot high fence is appropriate that far north on the property. So I think there will still be some consideration. They can certainly do some separation and screening and buffering, but we may want to limit the height as it gets closer to Wolfson Road.
Yeah, no, understand the site distance issue. We'll lower it to 4 feet as it approaches Wolfson for sure. So, okay, thank you.
All right, any more clarifications or questions to the applicant or staff? No, I see none. Thank you all. I'm entertaining a motion in planning item 51-20, consideration of a special use permit for a retail marijuana establishment. And I think I already may have said that. Staff's recommending approval with conditions on page 8. Findings and conditions on page 8.
Mr. Chairman, regarding planning item 5120, I move for approval of special use permit for retail marijuana in the mixed use core M2 district with the, let's see, are there findings and conditions on page 8 of our staff report?
Excellent, thank you, Commissioner Schachter. We have a motion to approve.
I would second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this planning item? No? All right, I'll call for the question.
Okay, Commissioner Dame,
Yes.
Commissioner Grosskopf,
Yes.
Commissioner Sipperly,
Yes,
Commissioner Schachter,
Yes.
Commissioner West.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Steve. Thanks, Commissioner. We have an approved application. Thank you to the applicant for coming back tonight,
Yes.
and good luck with
Yeah,
your.
thank you very much.
Looking forward to the building.
Thank you. We look forward to being we look forward to being a part of the community. So thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, excellent. That was easy, and we are already wrapping things up for tonight. So wait till everybody's, well, we can move on, that's fine. We're already at commissioner comments, and I'll just go down the screen and I'll start with Commissioner Zipperly.
if only all the meetings were a half an hour long. Nothing besides that, really.
Thank you. Commissioner Schachter.
Nothing at this point, Marco, other than agenda items for the future that are you going to discuss?
I may.
Thank you.
No, I will, but I might need your help if I miss something. So, Commissioner West.
I like the format. It's better for my brain to not have to make the decisions at 10 o'clock at night. So that's my feedback. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Grosskopf.
Not much other than I got a thing in the mail about the city providing some meetings for the South Midland rollout. And so just, I don't even remember when those meetings are, but they're this week. And so if it's going to impact you, which somehow will impact all of us, it might.
Okay, thank you. Catherine. Thanks for the comments. I don't have much. I was just hoping, and this goes to Jen and Gretchen and Trent, that maybe in one of our future meetings, in one of our light evening meetings, and I think I remember that November meeting is relatively light, or even the December one, if the Planning and Zoning Commission would like to chat about housing, just in general. We've had a combined meeting with the Housing Commission. We've had one before with Council and Housing Commission. And I was wondering if it's appropriate for us, just as a commission, even with Hannah's homework or not, just kind of maybe keep going, rehash some things, talk about some details that we personally may have thought of after the meetings or during the meetings, or maybe didn't send to Hannah in our homework. It's more of a workshop kind of thing, but I'd be interested in talking about housing and how we want to attack some of these issues with attainable or affordable, with partnerships, or how we feel about this. So if anybody's interested and there is room on the agenda, I would love to put that on.
Well, I would concur and hope that we do. Marco, I think we will have homework from that joint commission soon. I will be contacting Hannah. Regardless, it's one of the things that'll happen, there'll be a somewhat of a reassignment. What is primary housing commission? What is planning and zoning? And I would urge us to do what the chairman recommended, that it seems clear at this point to me, while I've been frustrated, that council wants us to push things up rather than push things down.
I think you're correct.
I don't want to wait anymore about pushing things up, ask for big picture items that we may not see in our lifetime, but that shouldn't prohibit us from pushing those up, as well as lower hanging stuff, which we've already started with ADUs and other things. So I would encourage us to commit as much of a meeting as possible to this, plus that we'll have homework from the joint meeting and saying, okay, what are we willing to endorse and push up ASAP, and how? Thank you.
I was even thinking, even before we have the resolution of the homework, like you said, some goes to the housing, some goes to us. Just, it's more of a maybe vision, more of a planning session with our wish lists, and just to start a discussion on our end, because I'm not sure I can recall a meeting, well, it must have been a while, that just the planning and zoning talked about housing and how we want to do this, besides the solutions we came up with, but just for future things that will jump at us. I think
it'll be helpful to see if we have any shared vision. Actually articulate a shared vision by this commission. It may not be shared by the community, it may not be shared by council, but the first step would be, what is our vision and how much of it is shared? So yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Okay, thank you. Catherine.
Yeah, Marco, I guess I like the idea a lot. I would love to extend an invitation to Hannah, just so she could be part of it, and just
Absolutely.
so just want to put that out there too, please.
Absolutely. I think that's a great idea. And we also want to make sure that we have as many commissioners available that night as possible. So we have as many brains and opinions and everything coming together. So I don't know what the agenda looks like. I know last time I asked, November was pretty light, but it may have changed. So.
Gretchen or Trent, are you able to give us an idea of, or remind us what is on the agenda for the 17th?
I know I've got a bunch of code revisions that I'm going to be bringing forward. Trent, what do you have?
And I've got the electric building location and extent review application.
Yep. And then
So.
Emery's special use permit is for December.
Yeah, I think that would be December for the Big O special use permits. And we may have Parks World headquarters by December too. But
Okay.
all, relatively simpler applications at least.
So my question then is, have the items for the 17th been noticed? They have, right?
Yes, the code revision has.
Okay. I'm just curious. It doesn't sound like a heavy night, but could we start a bit earlier?
It's up to you all.
I guess that was a question.
And I mean, I would like to have Hannah, so I mean, I'd like to ask that question to her if she's available.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. No, I get it. I guess there's some homework that needs to be done to make sure that we can do this all together. But I'm just throwing it out there. If we start at 5:30 or 5 even, I'd be up for it. And the other thing is too, you know, a couple of code revisions and a location and extent review that might set the mood for housing talks. I don't know. And we can do that afterwards. That's fine too, for an hour and a half. If everybody's up for it, I would look forward to that. So I guess we'll wait to see how the agenda is coming together, and we'll go from there. And Jen, anything else? Jen says no. That means this meeting is adjourned after 35 minutes, actually 31 minutes. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Everybody.
That should be good for a 6-pack.
Oh, this is my shortest ever.